Hello everybody, welcome back. So I'm just preparing for the live stream I'm doing in about half an hour, but I thought I'd make this video while I was waiting, as I'm just sitting here basically. So as we know that Bitcoin, we can all see it with our own eyes, that Bitcoin's breaking down exactly as expected. I told everybody about the train dodge of the altcoin mania that we've been in recently, and to get out and preserve those gains. Quite happy to sit out of this market now for what could be a month, that could be extended to a little bit further until there's some buy signals on any of this. There's no real point in trying to trade it, and I would say that there's not likely to be any buy signals on this outside of maybe approaching the sort of $14,500 zone that I marked off on that chart the other day. And again, that is just I suppose a bid at a reasonable support. It could easily come down lower than that. So this morning I alluded to quite a lot of things, and I thought, well, I might as well try and explain this a little bit more to everybody on this video. And it's not so much about Bitcoin itself, it's traditional markets, but it's also currencies, right? So I'm sure everybody knows, you're all aware of the general reflection of the Dixie to, the strength of assets, whether it's stocks or crypto, right? It's become a thing. It's always been a thing, but it's way more of a thing at the moment. And so obviously we all know, or we should know, that the Dixie is basically a combination of different currencies that are all melded together in one chart, and it just shows the strength of the dollar versus all those other currencies. I think there's 4 or 5 or 6 or so in there. But obviously the two major pairs in there are the euro and the pound. Yeah. So we'll look at these first, and then we'll look at all these other things that might be of concern. So the pound, obviously breaking down. This is pound. We're looking at things on a monthly here. So this is why I'm talking about it's super bearish. Forget about your 4-year market cycle for Bitcoin. Obviously, I'd still like to believe that is the case. It still could be the case, but there is obviously more at play behind that cycle this time round, right? So this situation in the economy right now is very different to how we've never really been through this. So not in my lifetime, certainly not in my trading lifetime. So it's definitely different. When we have to, you look at things like the Dixie and the Nasdaq, and we use those to help us trade crypto and things like that. But there's even more to it than that. The deeper down the rabbit hole you go, the more clues you get to what could take place at a later date, right? So like I say, I want to believe in the 4-year market cycle will continue to repeat, and so far the model is okay. So we'll stick with it for as best we can. But if we fail to look at these sort of things as well, it would be a bit naive of us to assume that crypto and Bitcoin specifically is completely isolated from all these events, because we know that it's not, right? It's pretty apparent that it's not. So this is the pound, right? So the pound is not the biggest component of the Dixie. The euro dwarfs it by quite a long margin, really. But we're looking at a monthly short signal about to be generated at the end of this month. We're 26th of August at the moment, so it won't take long for this to be generated, and it seems inescapable as far as this is concerned. Similar to how Bitcoin is brewing one of these at the moment, but far from it, maybe a few days, maybe into next week before it's confirmed, and that's just on a daily. This is the pound on a monthly, and we are about to, at the end of this month, generate a short signal a mother of all short signals, really. It's going to drop big time. All right, the pound is going to wrecked city. The euro is already on its way. They're more or less, tied by the knee at this point. They're both going down together, and it's going to get nasty. So the reason I'm talking about the pound isn't that the pound has got any sort of major influence on Bitcoin or anything, but it does definitely, when you look at this sort of signal and the one that was generated already on euro, which was generated about 4 months ago when this kicked in, at this exact level, roughly around this level, when this red portion of the cloud became clear and we crept outside of the cloud from this cheeky span, crept below the cloud, we generated a short signal at that point, at more or less this level. And so far, this is just a currency. It's not a shitcoin here. Well, I suppose it's open to interpretation, but 10%, almost 11% drop so far. This is it dropping as a result of that signal being generated. So that is that. The pound is about to generate one of these as well, and we like to think of the pound as always being above $1, and for the most part it kind of is. This is there was a brief period when we came down here, we tested, or we thought we were going to test that that area when Brexit kicked in, but now we've got it backed up on the a new short signal at these low levels. So it looks like the pound will be scraping that dollar value. There'll be 1 for 1 soon. So there's it's not looking good for the pound. And obviously the euro is in free fall and will continue to free fall. And with this sort of chart set up on a monthly, it is not a good look for it. I can tell you that now. Definitely not a good look. And we think about this, we're talking, at least scraping these lows down here, 82, but probably lower than that, given all the other reasons outside of just this chart's technicals to bring it down to those lower levels. So I could mark off, I'm not joking, I could mark off areas as low as 50 cents for a euro, and maybe, we're talking like 80, 70 for a pound, when this is all played out. Now we're talking things on a monthly here. We can see that it took what was it? Let's just measure this cloud, because this is where the signal is generated around here. So we'll just measure the cloud. This has taken 214 days to drop 10% and still falling. So we're talking into next year really for all this to happen, which means that the dollar index, at least the Dixie, unless something specifically changes in America, something dramatic, we're talking Dixie could honestly go to those tear up moves that you might have seen people talk about when you see these bold measured moves that people like to do from the mouth of here to the breakout, which is effectively over here. So effectively a new all-time high, talking like 180 on the Dixie. So we all seen what's happened on this. It looks measly when you look at it on a monthly, but this is where we've come from. December 2020, all the way down, people saying about how the dollar is going to zero, and lo and behold, we're looking very, very seriously at close to 100% rally is possible on the Dixie. So what does this mean for all the other things? And obviously we'll just look at the Nasdaq just very briefly now that we've gone through the technicals on the long-term time frames. And again, this isn't going to happen overnight, but we look at what's happening here on the Dixie. I called for the everything bounce. Again, we're here on a monthly. Called for the everything bounce on the lows around here. I sold at this descending triangle because this is the best we could really ask for, really. We could have moved up further, we could have gone up to this level, we could have broken out, but we didn't. So I took all my profit, on the way up and at the actual trend line here. It looks all a little bit too simple to be real, but that was the deal. Everything bounce, everything drop. Are we going to come back down to this level? We're going to continue to go down? I don't know. But it's a bearish situation. We're still very much in a consolidation, and it's not looking particularly good. And when you balance the strength of the Dixie with the weakness of the pound and the euro, and we think about this on a monthly term time frame, this brings us into next year. Never mind what could be going on with oil throughout the winter and all the inflation prices due to energy costs. It creates a big giant question mark over the price of everything. And so we think about Bitcoin as something that we can, in some way, particularly, I suppose, for want of a better word, we like to think of Bitcoin as something tangible. But really, what's to stop Bitcoin from performing like a shitcoin? Nothing really, if you really boil it down. This is a different situation now than it's ever been, and I've shown this in the past, and I'll show it again. I showed it this morning, but I'll show it right now. We do have bearish divergence on the monthly for Bitcoin, and not that this is anything other than an observation, but we do. It's as simple as that. We've got bearish divergence on the monthly for Bitcoin on every parabolic top. Get rid of these Bollinger Bands. I'll do that in my own time, don't worry. But yeah, we've got bearish divergence on the Bitcoin chart here, and it's on the monthly. So we're looking at everything from a much bigger perspective this time round. Now, like I say, I'm all up for the 4-year market cycle, and let's hope that it's a rinse and repeat. But even the 4-year market cycle is slightly different this time round. In fact, we're going to have to look at this Bitcoin chart. I'm going to have to wrap this up in a bit because I need to start my live stream, but yeah, if we look at this is your Bitcoin on a log scale throughout its entire history. We'll just zoom in on this one. The only thing that we've got going for us at this very moment in time, and it's only just, is this 50 simple moving average. We want to be able to close above that, this purple line. If we don't close above that, this is the first time it's ever done this on a monthly. So this drops potentially all the way down to what, 11, 12? That's the only other moving average of any significance. And what is this little bad boy here? This little skinny blue one, it's nothing. It's really nothing at all. It's what is it? It's 100 simple moving average. It doesn't really exist. There's no point in even looking at it really. But I mean, it is there, and I suppose we'd be above the clouds still. So I mean, that's you know, on its own chart basis, a technical target, you know, based upon technicals, but it's never been seen before. We've never really closed below this 50 simple moving average. This is the end of your last bear market. So again, you know, when it comes to time frame is concerned, you know, we could mark off that September could be the area that we would end this bear market. Personally, it could be ending it, you know, technically could end. But if it doesn't end, and it continues with the rest of the economy, which again, when we mark off areas like euro, pound, and the effect that it'd have on the Dixie, and the effect that the Dixie has on traditional markets, and obviously Bitcoin as well, it does make you concerned, especially when you look at the bearish divergence that's taken place with every parabolic high. You know, lower lows on the RSI, higher highs on Bitcoin. It's just something to think about, and so if this does break down from here, which is not unrealistic to think of, and then we don't hold this $12,000 zone, which again is a technical target based on, you know, previous price action, plus having a 100 simple moving average, it is all there on a monthly, and I recognise we are looking at this on a monthly. If none of this holds, then Bitcoin finishes this super cycle. So remember, it's not a very old chart. You know, we think of Bitcoin as something that's always been around, but it's really not. We'll end this super cycle at significant lows. 3,000, why not? You know, there's a technical reason why we might find our bottom around between 5 and 3,000. Well, you better hope that we hold for that because the domino effect will fall. Miners can't mine. It's not profitable to mine. The hash rate gets smaller as they get turned off. Before you know it, this entire area of Bitcoin's market cycle is completely written off, and we start something brand new from a completely different level, and who knows what that is, because we don't even have the historical relevance to look back on and go, well, it did this before, it did this before, it did this before. We wouldn't have any of that. We start from square one. Maybe we get to, you know, dig out our Pentium processors and start mining it ourselves. But it's just an observation, you know, it's not a specific call. I'm just saying, you know, let's think about things in a different light. I know that we like to make trades on this channel, and we'll continue to do that, looking at how things look on the daily, making trades on altcoins or whatever. We will always be able to do that. But if we look at the overall environment, it certainly is definitely different. And it's not so much Bitcoin itself, although Bitcoin is looking different. It's everything, you know, and, you know, like I say, when we match all these things together, it doesn't paint a pretty picture. But like I say, we'll see where we go at the end of September. But as you all know, I'm out of trading for a little while now. That'll do for us. We've had a really good couple of months, called the bottom on stocks, called the top on commodities, called many altcoins, made lots and lots of cash, and now it's time to take a back seat and effectively have a little bit of annual leave, a little vacation, as you like to say in America. But whatever it is, it's certainly not a trading environment for me, unless of course you're short, which I certainly am, on the euro, and long on oil. Anyway, outside of that, I'll leave it with you there. Won't be around this weekend, but stay tuned for some updates on how bullish the market will be once all this is over, because it is true, but it says, like I said, I think it's going to be an institutional bull run based around altcoins and their utility, rather than everything and everyone sort of trending as one with Bitcoin. It could end up being very much like a what we call it, an institutional blue chip alt season, maybe, that continues on and decouples from everything else. I don't know, it's just but anyway, I'll leave it with you there. Thanks for watching. Join the Patreon, by the way. I'm doing that in 12 minutes. Have a nice day. Take it easy.